to start this one, Joe.
No!
No.
You start this. You wanted this.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Tom and Joe Show, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello.
Hello.
If I don't introduce myself, does that mean we never get started and we don't have to do this?
Come on, Joe.
Dang it, you said my name. Okay, fine. I'm Joe.
It's Joe. I'm Tom. This is
Okay.
the Tom and Joe Show. We're doing the Star Wars Holiday Special.
I'm just gonna tell you my thing with it. Like, I was done with this like 10 years ago when like the video of it finally hit the internet or whenever that was. And, you know, I had to do my check for mediocrity. It's like my baseline check for the most horrible things in the world. So I watch one a year to be like, okay, so this isn't the worst thing in the world. It's not at least this. So I did that 10 years ago. And now I have to do it again.
Yeah.
It's like in high school when I had to read My Antonia twice.
Oh, Jesus. Yes.
I am from Nebraska. Like, this does not intrigue me.
You may have to give me some context on whatever the hell that is.
Okay.
I've never heard of it before.
Okay, My Antonia is a book by Willa Cather, who was an East Coaster, who then lived in Nebraska for a few years, moved back, and then wrote a couple books about Nebraska. And because it's about Nebraska, and anytime anybody says our name, we're like, yes, yes, yes.
Oh boy.
It's required high school reading for 1 year, and then I had a class called Academic Decathlon that is a yearly competition at a nationwide level, and it's its own class. And they assigned My Antonia for 1 year, so I read it twice in my high school career.
Yeah.
And I have never been happy with it ever since. And such is the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Oh boy. So let's just go back to the beginning. So the year is 1978. Between the release of Star Wars in 1977 and the release of Empire Strikes Back in the summer of 1980, George Lucas basically goes, we need to have something to sort of as a stopgap, because if I don't, Star Wars is going to, which is like a crazy thing to think about this day and age, that Lucas was concerned that people would forget about Star Wars in a mere period of basically 3 years. So he essentially goes, let's do something in between this and the dot. And then basically passes the project off to somebody else. And herein begin the
but
problems.
he controls the ideas.
Yes, and apparently, from what I've read around this, he did see the shoots of this. This is as we said in sort of in the previous episode. This is what George Lucas is personally ashamed of making. Not Jar Jar Binks, not the Nemoidian.
His name isn't on it so much. He isn't one of the people who wrote it, directed, but he was responsible for probably the biggest gaffe. He wanted to make it about Chewbacca's family.
Yes. And
what a family they are.
Here begins the problem. So, essentially, I feel we need to sort, because obviously you prefaced this last episode by saying this was a typical, a more typical thing compared to Peanuts of the quote unquote American variety show. Okay, so I think the limey bastard of the duo have to now have this explained to me, because I'm vaguely aware of the concept, but a variety show in the UK is a very different beast from that in the United States. We don't have stuff like this on television in the UK to that extent.
So I also work at a CBS affiliate. I'm not going to name names or anything, but I've worked in TV for about 15 years, so I do know a little bit about it. But they're back in the 70s. TV was, I don't want to say very weird, but it had this thing where they could open up filming and they could record stuff and they could do a whole lot of things. So what you had was there were TV shows like Chips where they would go and film like water parks because LA had them and nobody else ever had water parks. And it's like, ooh, ah. And you could actually film on location. You could actually, do a lot more than what you were doing in studio. But also, you could have variety shows, which got big because of like the Osmonds and Sonny and Cher and stuff like that. You had people who were good performers and they were also singers and they had personalities. So they kind of fired up this thing, and Lucille Ball was in there. She's on one of the commercials for the. So a couple of those get big. I think one of the biggest is like the comedy skit show, the Carol Burnett show. I mean, that's more of a comedy skit show like Laugh-In, but like people from the Carol Burnett show will eventually come back into this story.
Yeah.
So these variety shows, these comedy shows, they kind of get big, and they especially get big after Sweeps is over. Now I'll tell you what Sweeps are for anybody who doesn't know. It's when Nielsen or whoever else gauges the popularity of each show, and then from that, the stations can set the ad revenue, and they can. So if a show is making popular, you can charge more for it. I remember, like our most popular show in Nebraska was Desperate Housewives for some reason, and I actually got to look at the numbers. And a 30-second spot cost $2,000 in a location with about, I want to say, about 100,000 people.
Yeah, which considering the viewership is I mean, obviously we get to the ultimate example of this, which is obviously I take it things like the Super Bowl commercial where it's like this is the most valuable spot on American television at any point during the year. You want to put something here, you are probably paying that millions of dollars a second.
Yeah, but that's for national.
Yeah,
local it's another thing, but. That if you are not, but once Sweeps is over, this is where they usually plan their fall finale, so everybody can take their breaks for Christmas, and then they can go back and film, and then they can get the second half of the season. So once it's late November, once that is over, you either do reruns, which don't get nearly as much viewership, or you can do one-offs like variety shows or specials or something like that.
Yeah, which obviously you get in UK. You get in UK television to a certain extent as well. Although obviously, with UK television, of the 5 main channels, only 3 of them have ad revenue, and obviously that I would imagine uses the same thing. But you get, they'll go. Oh, in the the last month before, month of the year will be Christmas specials of various programs in various countries, in various, on various channels.
So, this is important, which is why the Star Wars Holiday Special takes place at Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Like,
well done, George.
And it feels like more, and like one of the trivia things was it feels more like Thanksgiving, even though it's like they kind of merged Thanksgiving and Christmas together. But that's why this was in Thanksgiving. It was still where they had like viewership, but nobody had like gotten tired of all the Christmas specials and all the one-offs and all the year-end things. And so they got it like right at Thanksgiving. So.
Well done.
So that's kind of a little background from where that is.
That makes. I mean, basically, and I think we need to sort of obviously there is this, and obviously there is there's not obviously Lucas himself is not involved, but the talent behind this isn't Like, you know, this isn't just being thrown at the work experience kid. This is fairly
No.
some fairly heavy hitting people.
Yeah. So two of the writers are, or if you know anything about like film and stuff, you
Yes.
probably have heard their names before. Like Bruce Vilanch, who is most infamously the guy who is writing off one-liners at the Oscars, and then we have, of all people, Pat Proft, who would probably go on to like parody this stuff later because he is a writer on Police Squad,
Yeah.
Hot Shots, The Naked Gun,
Hmm.
and he's directed a couple of those Leslie Nielsen things.
Yeah.
Like Wrongfully Accused, which was a lesser one. I still enjoyed it more
Yeah.
than I should have, but he is definitely a person who should have known better.
Yeah.
And between all of these people, they have 6 Emmy wins. Granted, because there's so much bullshit in the Emmy stuff. Like, I have an Emmy. I mean, it's a regional Emmy, but I have one and 2 nominations. So there's that. But
Yeah.
there are, I don't want to say countless Emmy nominations, but there are 6 wins, and so these people are not untalented. It's just they were on a lot of cocaine. At least one of them was.
Yeah, you've also got Rod Warren, who is far more, Rod Warren essentially was a an American screenwriter who did a lot of writing for Variety show, and he is 2 of the 6 Emmys on his own. He basically wrote for Lily Tomlin, Donnie Marie, which obviously is one of the really big.
Oh wait, I have to do my redo my math. V1 2. So there's like 8 Emmys among them because
Emmys,
Mitzi Welch has 5 of them. She worked most of it on the Carol Burnett show, which hey, there that is. That was a CBS show, so no.
Yeah.
So that links back to here, and then Bruce Vilanch has one.
Yeah, and then directing all this stuff, all this mess, is Steve Binder, the guy who directed Elvis's '68 comeback. So we've got serious, serious.
And then there's the uncredited guy who said "fuck this shit, I'm out."
Yeah.
David Akamba,
who lasted I think 3 days.
Yeah, he did the musical segments with B. Arthur and Jefferson Starship, and then left.
Oh boy, yeah, that's obviously another thing. Like Jefferson Starship, a pre-runner of Jefferson. This is where my knowledge of Jeffersons, because Jefferson, you get Jefferson's Airplane, who predate
Jefferson Airplane, which is the out there psychedelic rock. And then you get Jefferson Starship, which is they're trying to be more rock stars. And then you get Starship, which is we built this city on rock and roll.
Yeah.
And the song from Mannequin, which I still love that song.
Yeah.
Nothing's gonna stop us now. So, but I do love that song. But it is 3 different flavors of distinctly different.
Yeah.
And you can claim, sellout or whatever, but I appreciate any band who can like evolve like that and survive.
Yeah.
Like you can like whatever you do. There are parts from all 3 I like.
Yeah. And Mitzi Welsh also does, alongside Ian Fraser, who was Bing Crosby's musical director, and did the soundtrack for most of the score for 1967's Dr. Dolittle, and obviously the very famous Bing Crosby Christmas specials, including the co-writing of David Bowie's song "Little Drummer Boy." Is on musical directing, adapting John Williams' score. So we haven't got, we're not dealing with cheapness behind the scenes, so to speak.
No.
We've got talented people. The problem is, and here is the thing. I watch this and I like. The problem is, and the biggest problem with this is, it is trying to do Star Wars, which is never, which is even on its sort of small screen sensibilities, $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $10 million an episode for The Mandalorian on the cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a cheap variety show to plug in on the holidays.
Yeah.
And that does not work.
That does not work. Yeah. I mean, there's no budget. There's no budget that indicates this. I don't think we'll ever know how much this cost. But I would be surprised if it cost more than sort of, $1 million or so.
I'm guessing most of the money went to the talent to convince them to do this.
This obviously was, during the production of Empire Strikes Back. So it's like, God knows what's going on. So, where do we want to start with this thing?
I'm a linear person because my ADHD doesn't let me be otherwise, because otherwise it gets out of control.
Yep.
So we're going to start at the beginning and where the obvious problems come in. So we get the short little Harrison Ford. He's not giving a shit, but he is doing his stage business like a pro. Yeah. And he's saying his lines.
Classic Harrison Ford. I mean, there is an interview which I might put a clip of at the beginning of this, which is just, Harrison Ford being interviewed by Conan, I think a few years ago, and it's just like, he is not a fan of this. I don't think he's ever been a fan of this. And
he had to be convinced to do this.
I mean, he had to be convinced to play Han Solo in, Star Wars generally, which is
But
Harrison Ford.
But we've been with this guy for over 30 years, almost 35 years. So we kind of have gotten a sense of when he's not giving a shit. But early on, we get he's doing the stage business. He's saying his lines and he's being Han Solo. But you can tell there's that level of not giving a shit,
which is kind of what makes Han Solo such a great character generally.
Yeah. Yeah, and also he's the weed dealer for the Star Wars cast, so he was probably very mellow while doing this.
That's not a joke, by the way. I should point out.
No, he was literally the drug dealer for the Star Wars cast in 1977. I don't know if he was allowed to be afterwards when it was a much bigger production, but...
But anyway, so Harrison Ford is obviously, and Peter Mayhew, the late Peter Mayhew as Chewbacca, are heading back to see Chewbacca's family on the planet of Kashyyyk. I don't think is it ever actually named Kashyyyk on this? Or Kashyyyk?
It was like Kazook. It was said Kazook by one of the, Imperial people. The problem is it's not the specials' fault. They didn't go to, Lucas. Lucas hadn't come up with the name for the home world of the Wookiee yet. No. So the Kashyyyk with the unlimited Ys was not there yet.
No, that I think is actually that's a creation of the fan work, the sort of later expanded universe, and obviously the prequels. So we'll get it anyway. But yeah, Han and Chewie are heading home, and oh no, stock footage.
Stock footage of Imperial fighters attacking them, so there's a giant Imperial presence around, the Wookiee homeworld, and they're struggling to get home for Life Day, which is this universe's version of Christmas. Yeah. Which was taken out of canon and then only recently put back into canon.
Yeah, put back into canon, ironically enough, by the first episode of The Mandalorian, and then the other Star Wars holiday special, which we'll get to later, briefly. Yeah.
I don't know about that one, but you can talk about it.
The Lego one.
Okay.
Oh, let's talk about it now. So, they released another Star Wars holiday special produced by Lego, because obviously Lego do a lot of Star Wars animated stuff. And, yeah, it's sort of very interesting timing given that, general things, but it's it also has a suspiciously similar title, And a lot of people went, particularly as this was last year when they were trying to bury the complete burning wreckage of Rise of Skywalker, it was let's have a diversion tactic and let's just hide the other Star Wars thing we're personally embarrassed for. Anyway. Yeah. Yes, on Kashyyyk.
But, so, onward. So, after that little prologue, we get to
the Wookies.
Chewbacca's family. Mala, Itchy, and Lumpy.
Yeah, and here the problems magnify by powers of 10 or 15.
The best way I can describe Lumpy's voice is a dishwasher got attacked by a bear. So
yeah, and what follows for, I think it is just 5 solid minutes, is this sort of a trio of sort of guttural screaming carpets with no subtitles. Yep. So you've got to basically go on the actors' sort of, physical movements, which, again, they are in fairly big, fluffy bodysuits.
Yeah, so they're just doing like holiday stuff. Mala, the mother, is making dinner, or the Life Day dinner.
Yep.
And the kid Lumpy is bothering his grandfather because he's bored and wants to do something, and his grandfather just wants to work on an X-wing wooden craft he is making, even though it's like badly pantomime that he's doing this, but the child is annoying, and then then the mother steps in and it's like, you gotta do your chores, and so we get to watch a Wookiee take out the trash.
Yeah.
and so there is this, and it's just guttural screaming, and some of it's not very good. Everything involving Lumpy is bad.
Yes.
Like the costume is bad. Like it has incredibly creepy, unsettling teeth, and as we've said, when it speaks, it is just wrong. It just sounds horrible.
It is just, and like I'm trying to basically think what was going through their head. It's like, I could understand if it was like, a more humanoid alien. I don't know. We bloody hell, Star Wars has got enough aliens. Why not a family of fucking Greedos or something? Just doing stuff. And it's a satire of sort of, American sitcoms of, the really boring, mundane stuff while they wait for the actual breadwinner to get home. Okay, fine, but why does it have to be the screaming carpets?
I don't think anything is working on that level.
No,
the main reason why this is here is because Lucas wanted it. The writers didn't, but they had to do it because it's what Lucas wanted.
And it's not subtitled, I should point out. It's like, there is no subtitles. It is just screaming Wookiee noises. For 5, I think it is 5 straight minutes before something else happens.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that the something else happens is green screen gymnastics by aliens in super fabulous outfits.
Yes.
Which is not really my problem. I mean, it's not the problem that's flamboyant. The problem is it is really boring, circus show done at a distance. And yes, what they do is, physically impressive, but it's not like Cirque du Soleil, where, they are, dive bombing off of a ribbon that is barely there, and like catching it right at the end before they hit the ground or something like that. This is just, they are doing flips. They are, doing the human pyramid and stuff like that. And then there's a little green alien with a horn who suddenly becomes a green alien, or a giant green alien. And then he blows the horn some more. And, well, we just wasted about 5 minutes of your time.
Yes. What doesn't help with all of this, by the way, is that Lumpy is sort of looming over this and pulling what I would describe as sort of the creepiest thing I've ever seen in, sort of, strip fur Furby sort of creepy faces.
Yeah.
It's not good. It's frightening.
And now that you've said Furby, it doesn't help because one of the original Furbies, like if you press the thing that makes them talk, they're like, the Furby my parents had said, "Touch me more."
Oh God. Oh,
yeah.
That's
oh yeah.
Fear-inducing.
Oh yeah.
That's fear-inducing. Yeah. So that.
I mean, my thought was he's like Lumpy looks like he's just going to grab one of them off the thing and eat them.
Yeah.
And he's just going to eat the whole thing when they're done.
And it's just these sort of frightening sort of undershot because it's like shot up towards because obviously it's like from the perspective from the table perspective. It's just no.
Yeah. So it's like it makes those low angle shots make them look more menacing and threatening or more powerful, and
that's not.
That just creates the whole thing. I mean, but the problem is on TV stuff you don't think about that. You just most of TV is just you shoot the thing that happens and then you edit the thing that happens. Yeah. And there's not a whole lot of until after Star Wars, and then they had Buck Rogers and Battlestar Galactica. Then you had like special effects and stuff like that. But at this point, people were just like, you shoot the thing, you edit the thing, and you call it a day.
Yeah, I mean, across the pond, you've obviously got Doctor Who, and most of Doctor Who, to be entirely blunt, at sort of this point in British TV history, was basically a quarry somewhere in, a quarry somewhere in Wales, and someone walking around dressed in bubble wrap. That's how sci-fi
that
was.
Is probably the main reason I never got into Doctor Who, because in the 90s we had the first iteration of the Sci-Fi Channel before it was the Sci-Fi Channel, and they would air old episodes of Doctor Who, and then I would be sick, and I'd be flipping through, and then I'd watch it for 10 minutes, and there'd be 10 minutes of nothing happening, and it would be stuffy, and it would be shot like a 70s TV show with a poor budget, and I would just be bored, and I would tune out, and that was my first impression of Doctor Who.
Would you like a jelly baby? That sort of stuff. Anyway, so moving on from the most terrifying thing in existence. Malia is looking for, quite rightly, her husband.
So, she gets in contact with Art Carney.
Oh dear.
Who is the alpha version of Lando Calrissian.
Yeah, because it's like... Yeah, and it's really obvious that, this is the character that I feel, it's that slightly duplicitous, slightly trickster sort of thing that Lando really nails. And I honestly think Art Carney is the only person actually doing, apart from Harrison Ford, actually doing his best. It's like,
he is, he creates a character. He creates a full character with, tics. I mean, whether it's good or not, and... He has to constantly keep hamming it up or throwing humorous stuff later when he's talking to Imperials, and he constantly tries to help them with something, but then the Imperials put a gun in his face, or I won't do that. Yeah. And he does that multiple times, and that's hammy holiday special television, but he creates a character. He works with it. He's an Oscar-winning actor, so he's pretty good.
Yeah, he's doing his best, and he sort of plays that interesting sort of, it's something that I think the Star Wars universe doesn't really, lean into enough of these sort of basically these wheeler-dealer figures, who are trading to both sides of the Empire and the Rebellion. You get, and obviously there you can see the prototype of Lando.
I mean, one of my big points is the biggest problem I think with everybody is they're working to fill dead air. There is nothing here to work against or work for. And so it is actors trying very, very hard to just fill the space with whatever, which is nothing you ever want to do, especially with comedians.
No, because it's like
which we will get to, but
yeah, it's just this is like the thing. It already feels like you had like the Wookiee nature documentary at the start. It already is starting to outstay its welcome, and at this point, I think we're about 10 minutes in.
yeah, about 10-15 minutes.
Yeah, and at this point, we cut to another of the main stars of Star Wars. Hello, Luke Skywalker. Oh boy.
Hello, who is still recovering from
Yeah.
intensive face reconstruction surgery from a
Yeah.
near fatal car accident.
Yeah.
So he is in massive makeup.
Yeah, and a lot of
And
eyeshadow for some reason.
Yeah, for some reason. I know it's for definition, but they did not do proper camera checks to make sure the makeup matched with how they were lighting it.
Yeah.
You could tell they just kind of shot it and got it over with, because it is very clear he is wearing a lot of makeup, and that is hindering his performance, which is all right. It's mostly just him chatting with R2-D2, which is not Baker, but it is an actual remote controlled R2-D2. So like the actor who normally plays R2-D2 didn't wasn't in this, so they didn't like skimp on a credit on him.
No, he is just credited as himself in the entire
Yeah,
thing.
R2-D2 is credited as himself.
Yeah, because why not? I mean, it's like, it's not like, you know, we have a team behind this amazing piece of technical thing. It's like, no, cool, okay. Luke doesn't know where the hell Chewie or Han are, so
But he has to cheer up Mala anyway because he's Luke Skywalker, and it's like, it's your fine, and give me a smile. There you go.
That's terrifying. Don't do that again.
That's a good Mala. Shit! The engine's fogging. It's doing the thing. Oh, I gotta go. R2, what are you doing? No, pantomime working with the engine some more until they cut away.
I do swear though, in that entire sequence, I don't think Mark Hamill actually blinks on camera, and it's actually quite unnerving.
Oh yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Really quite like, Mark, are you all right there? Blink, please, Mark, please blink.
I think that might be a problem with, I don't know if he memorized his lines and he's looking at a cue card.
Yeah.
That is a problem with, I work in the news, so
that's
early anchors and early reporters, when they look at the teleprompter or the cue cards or whatever, they don't blink because they don't want to blink and lose their space.
Yeah.
So they have to train to learn how to blink naturally and read at the same time.
Yeah.
So that might be the problem with, you know, it's a little bit of inside baseball. It might not be the case.
It might just be that Mark Hamill didn't want to blink. I don't know. So yeah, Malia contacts the Art Carney's character, who is called Sawn Dan, and Sawn Dan, through the worst coded message in history, tells her that Han and Chewbacca are indeed on their way.
The hairy rug.
The rug you ordered is going to be here. It's going.
The rug you ordered is being handmade 4 planets away.
Yes.
Wink.
Wink. It'll
You
be
could say it
by
was
hand, solo.
Solo.
And it's like, oh my god, are we meant to be laughing at this? Is this where audiences would laugh? This is great.
Again, it's a talented person having to fill time or trying to, you know, do their best with nothing.
Yeah, there's also like this weird side bit with this Imperial officer who is just off-duty shopping for stuff. You know, because that's.
And Art Carney sells him a like groomer that apparently does 40 other things.
Yes, it is indeed the thing that Tom Waits was singing about in Step Right Up, which I think I made a joke at the time about. Anyway, so Malia, obviously now knowing that Chewbacca is on his way and Han Solo is on his way, because I assume that they're good people and will let Han stay for dinner, decides to do some cooking. Enter Harvey Korman playing one of 3 roles in this.
Yeah, and Harvey Korman, I think, is a person that is the most unforgiven in all of this.
One
The writers were most of the writers were on drugs, and George Lucas, you know,
probably was on drugs.
he is ultimately responsible for the bad ideas, but, you know, he kind of said what he wanted to do and stepped away, so this was the responsibility of other. But Harvey Korman is, unfortunately, gets to be the comedian who has to do comedy skits
Yes.
to fill out the time, and in the IMDb trivia, it says they were trying to get Robin Williams. I'm guessing Robin Williams would have been where Harvey Korman is.
Yes, as the comedian. The comedian. Oh, God.
Yeah. the comedian who, you know, goes and does his bit.
Yeah.
And the problem is there's no joke here. No. It is just like, it is just anti-comedy almost.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to say anti-comedy because that's its own specific thing that has, but it is just the definition of hanging out a comedian to dry, and they just all of their moving around just tightens the rope around their neck even more. The harder they try, the worse it gets.
Yeah.
And nothing is more apparent in this than Harvey Korman as the chef.
Yeah.
Who, we talked about this, I think General Grievous's race.
Yes.
Because the big joke is, the bit is, Harvey Korman is playing a female chef.
Yep.
Ha ha ha. It's a dude in a wig.
Yep.
That's what's funny in the 70s.
Yes.
And, you know, trying to do a cooking tutorial.
It's a riff off.
The problem is,
it's a riff off.
It
Julia
eventually
Childs,
gets.
isn't it, if I remember correctly, it's
Julia Child, yeah.
The American TV cook.
Yes. Eventually, the problem is the instructions in the tutorial get too complicated because it's like when you get playing a rhythm game and you have to repeat what it said, and then it gets way too complicated. And then it gets more complicated because the alien chef has 4 hands and can work, you know, with 3 things at once and then do all of this stuff at once. And Mala is trying to do it and get more frustrated. And then the chef just goes off the handle and just into their own world. And then Mala just shoves the thing in the oven and is done with it. Oh, I should mention they're making bantha.
Yes, bantha, because bizarrely, you know, as I said, I appreciate this is like in 1978. George hasn't got like a huge number of creatures to play with. You know, bantha is, you know, the big woolly fuck off things on Tatooine, and bizarrely, you know, not only does a bantha appear in edible form, Lumpy also has a plushy bantha, so I'm not entirely sure what the logistics of that are, or why, you know, that... it's just...
we do eat cow, and we also have plush cows, so I'm not super...
No, I'm saying,
you know,
but obviously, it's like, the logistics of getting it all the way from Tatooine to Kashyyyk is obviously something that George probably got somebody to write about sometime in the early 90s, never mind. Anyways, it's basically a throwaway. It's a throwaway gag pulled out to nearly 4 minutes, and it's about par for the course for what passes for comedy around here.
It is just, like I said, dead air. You just stare at it, and it's just like that's it. That's what you got.
Oh God!
And not to, you know, put a too fine of a weight on Harvey Korman, because he is a talented person. Obviously, he worked on the Carol Burnett show, and he was in Blazing Saddles, and he is a very talented comedian. And this is a bad situation for anyone. The problem is, what he tries to do makes it worse.
Yeah.
So, it is just a mugging comedian with no jokes, with no, you know, hook, just dying on the stage.
Yeah. But
and it's just sad, and it's awful.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, we're not going after Harvey Korman specifically. I don't think any comedian could... Well, you know, I adore Robin Williams, but he would have tanked in exactly the same position,
Yeah,
exactly the same thing, you know.
Robin Williams might not have had the same career he would have had if he would have started
Yeah,
this. This might have,
yeah,
this might have tanked it, but
no,
especially with how especially with like Robin Williams '90s movies where they clearly got Robin Williams to be Robin Williams, and he has to have that one improv sketch where he's just doing voices and wearing outfits and trying it out. And they have to give him like a scene that lasts at least 2 minutes like that because he's Robin Williams.
Yeah, so he could just basically do a chunk from his comedy, you know, routine at that point. Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Sorn then appears with gifts for everyone, and yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna get to
that moment in this. So
that moment where Diane Carroll sings about making love to Chewbacca's father, who is itchy, who is very unpleasant to look at, especially his face, because he already looks like he has he got an orgasm and it got stuck that way.
Yeah.
So it's already bad to look at, and then what we're gonna do, the writers, high on cocaine, what they were going to do, and they admitted to this, is that they wanted to get as much of a softcore scene through as like over-the-air television would allow, and they wanted to do that with Itchy. So
a reminder,
how are we going to do that?
Yeah, reminder, this was showing on television at 8 p.m. in the evening. Yeah.
For families.
For families.
This is So, the setup is that, you know, Art Carney gets Itchy a virtual reality machine and has a new program for him that's just like, that's going to knock his socks off, and then pops it on, and then we get like a 2-minute like Hearts of Space, like it's very soothing, very it could have been a Jean-Michel Jarre song.
Yeah,
it could have been the start of one of his albums. And then we get to poor Diane Carroll.
Oh god.
In a just wig. Doing her best in a very bad wig that implies alien, but it's still just a Diane Carroll, Oscar nominee, multiple Primetime Emmy nominee.
Basically doing alien ASMR. Yeah.
Talking about how singing a song about how she is going to make love to Itchy and how she wants to make this moment last forever. It's which is just on multiple. Yeah, it is very, very gross.
Yeah,
it's like how in Howard the Duck, there's the song "Don't Turn Away" by She Blinded Me with Science Guy.
Yep.
And it's a great love song. It would be a wonderful love song if it was in anything but Howard the Duck. And that is multiplied by about 4 times here because we have to cut back to Itchy's face stuck with his lips up, and he's kind of quivering, and dear God, don't pan down. No. The Wookiee is jacking off.
It is just white. What am I? It is the one. I mean, this is full of moments that basically you could pass for the "What am I fucking watching?" But I think this takes the particular trophy for it. Bearing in mind, like Chewbacca, who is obviously Itchy's son, is like 200 years old at this point, and
yeah,
no, thank you. It's just
it's
no. It make you feel physically unclean after watching.
Yeah, it would be fine if it was separated from Itchy. Like Diane Carroll sings a very good song.
Yeah,
and this music is up my alley. I listen to a lot of Hearts of Space, and I am okay with some light FM 70s stuff. I actually kind of like it, but all of the elements together, it's like when you put like too many watercolors in the water and then the water is just like black and brown, and it's just like now it's just like completely unpleasant, and no, just no.
No, and it's and then of course thank God that goes very and hello Harrison Ford, thank you, you have saved us from this.
Yep. Okay, we gotta check in on them. So, Han Solo's like, I'm pressing the things, and they're pressing. They took out the auto turrets.
Yeah.
I gotta go fix this. And
Yeah. Which kind of ironically actually is the one thing the holiday special actually gave Star Wars is, do you know the scene that he's like where they're both in where the Death Star run and they're both in the obviously in the cockpit of the Falcon, and yet somehow the Falcon is shooting? Yeah, we fixed a plot hole, guys. We fixed a plot hole, and that way everything makes sense now. Yes.
Thank you, Star Wars Holiday Special.
You were somewhat you weren't you were never good. No. So obviously Han and Chewbacca land. Lumpy hears the Millennium Falcon and opens the door. Oh dear, stormtroopers.
Dun, 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 dun. No, it doesn't get the dun dun dun.
No, it's previous to that.
It gets the television dun 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 sting, and then cuts to break.
Yeah.
Or fades to break, I should say.
Fades to break. Should we talk about the adverts now? So, this is where the adverts, because I think we need to. This is like part of the. So, here's the thing.
I had to. You watch the copy on YouTube that has the whole thing but doesn't have the commercials. So, and then you went. You kind of have to watch the stuff with the commercials because the commercials are
part of the experience,
part and parcel to the experience.
So, I think we need to sort of have a little bit of background. So, this is something we've had to watch unofficially. There is no official version of this existent at present. There are rumors that Lucasfilm and Disney are remastering it. A few shots of it did appear in the Boba Fett documentary, which came out very recently on Disney Plus. There is, Disney Lucasfilm have a copy of this. It exists in higher definition than what we see here. Obviously, they've taken part of this, which we'll come on to later, and obviously released it in that remastered format. But there we are. So what we essentially have, and what every single version of this, with riff tracks, without riff tracks, remastered, whatever, takes its thing from is a second generation copy of the tape. Somebody basically recorded it off the television, I assume.
And it was in Baltimore.
In Baltimore, because you could tell because the adverts are all Baltimore area stuff.
In context, I can say this. Fuck you, Baltimore!
Indeed. Fuck you, Baltimore. So Baltimore is the reason this actually exists. Obviously, the cassettes traded as they tend to, and eventually obviously at the dawn of YouTube, this resurfaced.
Yep.
Horrifying.
And also a better copy existed from somebody in Dayton, Ohio. Hello to our CBS friends at WHIO.
Yep.
But so we got that. Now we have a better version of it. But anyway, so it has all of these local spots and national spots too. The problem once you get to the bigger area stuff is that it's hard to tell where the local stuff is and where the national stuff. Like, I can tell you as a person who works in television and has worked in the master control, like, where the local breaks hit. Like, how they do the Star Wars Holiday Special, and they do that, feels like way too much. That is not a thing for the viewer. That is a thing to tell the master control operator, the commercial is coming up, run it, you dumb bastard.
Yeah.
So and what follows are like, you get Reggie's, which is like a chocolate, like candy thing for Reggie Jackson.
Yep.
and then you get like an ad for the Wiz,
Oh god.
and then it tells you where the Wiz is playing, and those are kind of still national spots, but they're still local. I mean, like I think the only few local spots is we get a Mercury dealer who somehow gets a jungle cat onto their sign. I don't know how much trick. I mean, I'm gonna guess they have a smaller version of the sign and they put the cat on that. They did not put the cat all the way up there, but
yeah. So
but yeah, like it is part of the experience to get these, have the commercials.
Hail Tobar. Tobar.
Tobor. It's robots backwards, and
and some of these have taken on like a mimetic life of their own. I mean, I recognise the couple from sort of people who have referenced this before, and it's like, oh god.
Oh yeah. The Union Label song, which, wow, back in the days when giant multi-billion-dollar corporations would allow you to not only advertise for unions on commercials on over-the-air television that goes to flyover country, but have a song.
Yeah, and and obviously I think also didn't GM also sponsor this as they're obviously American.
Oh yeah, it was sponsored by GM, which is why you get a lot of like minute-long stuff about union workers and like how they do their job and how it's like people. And then GM in the 80s would just completely tear down this image of it, as seen in Michael Moore's Roger and Me, before Michael Moore got too extremely full of himself. But Roger and Me is still a great movie about like Reagan era and the destruction of the unions and destruction of the car industry in America.
Yeah. So,
but anyway,
back from commercial. Hello, Stormtroopers. Who obviously are looking for Chewbacca. And Sorn attempts to distract them with various stuff, including Jefferson Starship.
Which, by itself, it's fine.
It's a good song. And this is like the other thing.
It's a good song. I mean, it is like a solid 7 out of 10 song. My only complaint is like there were two kinds of rock bands in the 70s. The ones who like every little piece has to be intricate and every layer is perfect. And then there's the people who just do like a recording, and if the recording sounds good, lock it, stop it, we're good. Yeah. Like Creedence was like one of the latter, and it would be like Pink Floyd would be one of the former.
Oh god, absolutely. Yeah.
So, but Jefferson Starship, when they have evolved from Jefferson Airplane to Jefferson Starship, are completely at the 70s rock band thing, and you can tell it feels like they recorded everything on one take, and they just took the take that they liked the best. So, it is a taste thing. No, the only person who would notice it is people like me, but But other than that, it is a extremely good song, and the music video does its best. But it's 1978. Nobody really knows what a music video is, and the only people who can get anything out of it is like Queen.
Yeah, and, the year before with Bohemian Rhapsody, and which actually with its black stage shot sort of thing doesn't really. This ironically actually probably the most interesting thing about it is one. Jefferson sort of Starship actually acknowledged this appears on like most of their best ofs, and two, this is their last recorded performance of any type with their vocalist Marty Balin, who then leaves the group pretty much as soon as this is shot. So well done, Star Wars, you basically destroyed Jefferson Starship. Well done.
And then they became Starship and apparently created what people would call the worst thing from the 80s. We built this city. It's not. It's not. Fucking not. Stop that. I love the 80s.
It's good.
It's a mediocre song. Find something else to be mad at.
Absolutely. But it's like, so Jefferson Starship play their song, and very easily impressed the Imperial officer kind of digs this because why not?
He's tapping his finger, and they occasionally cut back to it, but it also cuts comes to the problem where this is very clearly to fill time. They kind of do their best to cut back and forth, and but all of this is disconnected from the experience. Nothing furthers it. Like, I guess if you really wanted to try hard, they were trying to world build and try to explain how this world works on, a street level or just as a basic citizen level, but it's still banal. It's still absolutely without any interest or just like energy.
Yeah, it's weirdly low energy. I mean, it's like, I'm not expecting, start every single Star Wars thing to be like, 100 miles an hour. And obviously, you can't do a space battle on the budget they've got here. But it's basically like, what I would describe this as is sort of every so often, the main plot sort of just basically stops. And somebody or something comes up on a screen, and we watch the screen for a few minutes. And, yeah, we haven't even mentioned, like, Carrie Fisher's in this for, like, 2 minutes. Yeah. It's like, we don't know where Han or Chewie are. It's
about 20 to 30 minutes into this, like, time starts to warp, and like everything is so repetitive and everything means nothing that like I lose track of where. So I lost Carrie Fisher somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Like it's another person. Maul's asking where Chewbacca is.
Yeah.
And then Carrie Fisher is who very clearly is out of it.
Yeah.
Chemically,
not quite sure if marijuana or the
or something harder, but she is.
It's not. No.
She is not completely here,
no.
And you can tell it in her line deliveries. And Carrie Fisher will talk about this all day.
Yeah.
She did a DVD commentary, and as a gift, George Lucas gave her the Star Wars Holiday Special, and she said she puts it on when she wants guests to leave at a party.
the late great, and it's so they've obviously, as I said, there are copies of this existing somewhere in the world, and Carrie, Billy Lord may well have one of the first generation copies. As I said last time, I swear we're about 2 days from this just releasing without warning on Disney Flipping Plus. Anyway, so yeah, at this point, obviously the Imperials are sort of sniffing around the place, and they basically are searching the place, and let's keep Lumpy busy. Oh, it's a cartoon. Here we get
which is very weird. Just because it is a cartoon that features Lumpy's father.
Yep.
Like, this had to be made by somebody in universe. So your father is a hero, and
he's on television.
On television, and none of this really scans. It's just another thing that they put on, and then he kind of reacts to it a little bit, and it's just like you feel like your kid who is in my dad is the greatest hero mode before he's like, shut up, dad. I'm gonna dye my fur black and I don't care.
It does sort of raise like in-universe questions of, hang on a minute, if this is being shown on television, is there like an entire in-universe like rebel channel? Is this sort of something, are there more of these? Is there like a whole series of like animated cartoons about the rebellion whilst the rebellion's still going on? How does this work? And it's here that we get the introduction of Boba Fett, and this is probably what of all things this is most famous for. This is the bit that Disney are at least sort of going, we are relatively proud of this very, very 1970s bit of animation featuring sort of an embryonic Boba Fett, to the degree that, I guess we'll put it on Disney Plus and remaster it. And, this has been on previous DVD releases. It's the one bit they go, we are vaguely proud of this, and, it has some bizarre level of canonicity. That said, it's a little bit boring.
Yeah, it's okay. My biggest problem is my problem with 70s animation in general. Like, there is this... It's 70s animation feels like a transition period for everyone, including Disney.
Yeah.
Like, I believe this was the Xerox era of Disney.
Yeah, this is the you know, 101 Dalmatians. This is the pre-Walt, pre-Dark. This is the post-Walt, pre-Dark Age, pre-Renaissance sort of era where they're making probably about one film every 3 years, and in between panicking and trying to work out what Walt would have done. Sort of era of.
Yeah, so this is like when animation is in flux. So like I don't like a lot of 70s and early 80s animation.
Absolutely. This is animated, by the way, by the company Nelvania. Not actually anything, you know, who are named after Canada's first national superhero, and they are most famous for animating quite a lot of stuff. Probably most famously, they do the animation for Clone High. As I said, there's a long list of stuff they've done. They also did, ironically, a planned Doctor Who animated series that never went anywhere. Yeah.
But it's... The designs are very out there. Like, the animation is very shaky, and it's kind of unsettling to me, just because they kind of act like Dolly's melted clocks even when they're standing still.
God. Yeah, the animation style of this tries to emulate the great French comic book artist and you know, all round sort of visionary Mobius, but most of the time it looks like just very sort of newspaper. It looks like caricatures of the sort of the characters you get at the end of a beach, with very few exceptions. It's not good. It's sort of very
and so a lot of them don't look like they're in the same series. Like Chewbacca has like the weird eye things where he just like has no pupils or anything, and it's the opposite color of what he normally has. So it just. He looks like somebody sucked out his soul at all times. And
Han Solo just looks weird.
He just angles all over the place, and his nose is like 90-degree angles, so it's just like sharp cutoff, and it's just it's strange, and nobody feels like they're in the same series.
Yeah, he looks like, I can only describe him as looking like a caricature of Mick Jagger. It just looks very peculiar.
In fact, that scans.
Yeah, in fact, the only sort of decently animated figure is probably actually Boba Fett, because at least he's got a helmet on, and he's not. I mean, they even managed to muck up Darth Vader. Vader just looks bizarre in this. It just looks weird.
Yeah, and it also sounds weirder, mainly because of 70s recording stuff. There was a deep dive on the Mysterious Cities of Gold DVD about how they recorded all of these things. And I don't know if this was the era of magnetic tape or not, but they literally loop dialogue. They call it looping dialogue because they would put it on these magnetic tapes, which they would record and then slap on to whatever they're doing. So what we have is a lot of actors who are not in the same room. Talking to fit the magnetic tape or whatever it is they're recording off of, and to fit the time. And so the performance is squeezed to fit into what they're doing, and nobody is reacting off of each other. They are reading their lines, and they're trying to get a performance, but everything is working against you, which is why a lot of things in this era sound so weird and off, especially in animated stuff that's not filmed.
And Harrison Ford particularly. I as I said, I think I said when I actually was watching this through the first or second time, because the madman, we actually both watched this multiple times because we're completely insane. I don't think Han Solo has one line that actually is on sync. Every single one of Han's lines are slightly off take, and it's bizarre. It's like everything is just slightly off sync with Han for some reason above everybody else.
Well, with Han Solo recording voiceover,
Yeah, it's like you know,
he doesn't want to do it.
he doesn't
If
want
anybody who has watched Blade Runner and listened to like
to.
he's kind of sort of half there voiceover. You can tell if he really doesn't want to do voiceover, he really doesn't want to do voiceover.
He does not want to do. It's really it's like you know what Harrison Ford sounds like when he's grumpy. It's just that the whole way through. Yeah, and this is sort of, and again, I know obviously people go, oh, it's Boba Fett's first appearance. Boba Fett is so cool, and it's sort of like, yeah, but. And it's like Boba Fett is voiced by the legendary actor, you know, obviously Don Harvey Franks here, who did like a lot of television work, and even if you compare this to like, you know, obviously the Jeremy Bulloch and the original Boba Fett as he appears in Empire Strikes Back, it's completely different. It's like a very different version of the character. It's people go, oh, but he's so cool, and it's like, but he's literally does not stop talking throughout the entire of the show. Yeah,
and his talking is like the source of one of my like little bits of trivia. So one of my favorite albums is Uncle's Science Fiction, and at the end of the song Bloodstained, there is a voice sample. You are alone.
Yep.
Maybe I can help you. And then as it flips to the other song, and that is Boba Fett from the Star Wars Holiday Special. So the Star Wars Holiday Special is one of my top 5 albums of all time.
Yeah, it's you know, and you know, this is a very different. This is like, you know, this is Boba Fett far from, you know, basically the man with no name in space. You know, he probably says more in this short than the entire rest of the Star Wars series.
Yeah, including
Attack of the Clones.
And the N64 game. I don't remember if he has any dialogue in Shadows of the Empire. I don't remember. You fight the Slave One, but I don't remember if he has any dialogue.
And then that's the thing, you know, the whole mystique of Boba Fett is that he is basically just this really cool guy, and it's like, please stop talking, please. It's really annoying. And, you know, and at the first time in danger, he buggers off anyway. So it's like, where are you going? You literally, 2 of them are just coming out of weird poisoned thing. So basically, the short is obviously about 10 minutes long. Basically, the Falcon crashes. Han and very quickly Luke get a sleeping virus that also makes Chewbacca a bit wild. Fett and Chewie go into town to get the cure. Fett goes, oh, I would just be a minute, and I will just go to speak to James Earl Jones, who is credited for the first time in this. And then returns to the Falcon with the cure, gets everyone better, and then goes, oh, by the way, I'm working for Darth Vader. And then disappears. Yeah. It's like...
Yeah, that's another one of my big issues. Like, everything in the plot of this just feels slapped together. Like, they get a sleeping virus. They have a cure for the sleeping virus over here. But we have a problem and we can't, like, just go over there because the planet has, like, Jello integrity, but which offers questions like how they can have a town and buildings and how you can walk, or how these dinosaurs can walk. But and they have dinosaurs on this planet too. Sure, it just kind of has that slap together quality. It's it's probably one of the best things on this special, but also it's not my thing.
Yeah, it's
so I didn't like it very much.
It has that sort of feel of sort of, you know, individual shots of this are lovely, but they got that sort of, you know, very cool 70s progressive rock sort of album cover. In motion, not so much. It just feels a little bit weird and slapped together, and yeah. End cartoon. And now Lumpy will put together a communication device which is never really explained very well, and we
Yeah,
get
no.
the return of
Har-
Harvey Korman.
I think this is the worst one. By far, this is the worst.
This is painful to. This is painful
This is
to watch.
the definition of we're gonna fix this in post, right? We're gonna make this good in post because there are no jokes here. This is literally not a joke. There is the formation of what could be humor. Because Harvey Korman is playing an android who is giving you instructions on how to fix things, and I think that's their big thing for the two out of three Harvey Korman performances is Harvey Korman is an unreliable tutorial.
Yeah.
That is the joke. That is the only joke they have in this one because he is an android who constantly is malfunctioning. And the joke is they're editing like blah, 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 but otherwise he is completely deadpan. They're just going through a complete motion of having a training video, but he just wonks out occasionally. That's the joke.
The bit
that
broke
is
me
the entire joke.
The bit that broke me was just the ouch. Sort of bit. It's like, no, this is not funny, Harvey. This is painful. Please go back to doing whatever it is you were doing before, or indeed after this. Please, it's just agonizing to watch.
Just call Carol Burnett. Please. Try to get her to do something, anything.
Please. And it's like, I think we said earlier, obviously, you could feel where this is like, if this had a slightly bigger budget, this would be where they actually put effects over, but no. No.
We are just going to edit it.
We're just going to edit it.
It's going to be funny because we edited it weird.
No, it's not. It's not.
It's not.
It's not good.
Narrator. They did not fix it in post.
They did not. So, basically the machine gets built apparently off screen. Lumpy is just a master of building stuff because this instruction thing just stops halfway through and the Harvey Korman robot dies, which frankly is the moment I cheered at because it was like, yes, he's gone. He puts the machine together and Well,
I was past the point where I could feel emotion at that point. Like I was emotionally dead for a few hours. Once I got there.
You died during this, didn't you, Joe? We had to bring you back via necromancy.
Yeah. You had to bring me back via a tutorial by Harvey Korman.
And if you press the left electrode, yes. So it's time to watch another video. And this one also has Harvey Korman in it.
Yeah. At least, I will say about this, at least Harvey Korman is a character working against something. Because they get in contact with the bar from Tatooine.
Yeah, in a documentary, in a sort of, a real life documentary because apparently
it's a documentary.
It's a documentary.
I have lost the thread at this point.
Yeah, it's like it's time to go to something on Tatooine, and it's like, hey, let's just watch this documentary about barflies. It's like Cheers, but Star Wars.
So Harvey Korman is this alien with a volcano head, which is how he drinks his food.
Yeah.
Or drinks his substance.
That's where all the budget went, to be honest. It's like on the Wookiee suits and Harvey Korman's drinking head.
That's the big payoff. Is that he pours the drink into the volcano head, and that's how he drinks. And then it's just like, I cannot say it any better than Mike Nelson did in Riff Tracks. I've been trying to avoid, the Riff Tracks jokes or whatever, but it's like, it's not every day you see the stupidest thing you've ever seen.
It is, and it's like, again, the problem is that it's like, oh no, not more of this, and it's like, and it keeps going. And there's another 10 minutes of just like life on Tatooine, and it's No.
It is okay. I mean, it's stupid television
Yeah.
stuff. Harvey Korman plays a person who wants the bartender. The bartender played by Beatrice Arthur.
Oh God, thank God. Somebody competent.
Somebody competent, but unfortunately she doesn't give anything competent to do because after she gets him to shove off, she has to do a song because the Empire's coming in to shut it down for curfew. And so she has to sing a farewell song to all of the guests and aliens at the bar, who are using authentic bar stuff from the first movie. They just repainted it so they look a little weird and different. But so they are doing a song, the first of two songs based on the original score from the original.
Yep.
From original Star Wars, and this is based on the
Cantina ballad music.
Cantina ballad. I don't know why I lost the word cantina, but I did. But so she is singing a song about saying farewell and closing up the bar to the Cantina ballad, and this is going to be anime. I'm moving off into a different direction, but there was the anime series Nadia: The Secret of Blue Water, and they made a musical episode where the musical episode was they based on songs off of songs from the score, and it is one of the most miserable experiences I've had in my life. And that is my impression of the Cantina ballad turned into a song. It's it's not supposed to do this. Please stop forcing it. This hurts.
Yeah. This is just no. Jizz music was never meant to be heard like this.
Yeah. Okay. We should probably explain that.
So, in
the angry video game nerd found it, but in the lexicon of Star Wars terms, jizz is a kind of jazz music, improvised jazz music played in the Star Wars universe.
Probably analogous to jazz, the sort of 70s jazz funk sort of stuff. And it's called jizz.
So it's called jizz. We can say jizz without getting in trouble here because we are talking about jazz in the Star Wars universe. This is what we are talking about.
Do you think the Jefferson airplane, because they clearly now exist, Jefferson Starship, because they clearly now exist in the Star Wars universe, do you reckon they're jizz or are they another genre, do you reckon?
I don't know. I think they do not play improvised jazz, so I think they are different
genre.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
No jism for them.
We'll have to ask George. Come on, George. Tell us what the other genres
I tried to hold it in.
Tell us what the other genres are called in Star Wars, George. Come on. So once we've had this sort of, abhorrence, I guess is the best word. Because it's just the Cantina Band song that's really fun. Yeah, now you've got 1/4 of the Golden Girls singing over it. Brilliant, guys.
Brilliant.
And it's sort of a bit mawkish, and it's the section, because apparently this was a potentially going to be sort of spun off from just a special to a series, God help us. And it was going to be continuing, and it's what else could we make B. Arthur sing? I'm sure she's got a song that will go very nicely to the TIE Fighter attack song.
Do we have a love song for Princess Leia's theme?
Oh God, quite possibly.
Yeah. A love song to Luke. No, stop, stop,
stop it,
no,
stop it.
That doesn't happen.
Actually, I don't.
But at this point, the fact that it could have is a little frightening.
It's a bit frightening. Thank God that never happened. So Lumpy puts his machine into action, having built it whilst the stormtroopers were watching the mandatory documentary on Tatooine, and gets them to return to base. Unfortunately, this does not last well, because one of the stormtroopers left behind to obviously wait for Chewbacca, because the creature from the species of people who can literally rip people's arms out, is clearly going to be, a match for one stormtrooper, if not more so. He obviously then, smashes the machine and sort of terrorizes Lumpy, chases Lumpy outside. Hello, Chewbacca.
Hello, Chewbacca, who then throws him off.
And
The
Harrison Ford
long drop.
Harrison Ford sort of just wrong foots him. It's like, oh, I'm gonna jump off. No, I'm not. Oh,
okay, there we go. Yeah,
and this guy.
Sorry if my memory gets a little foggy, but it's just like
the Star Wars Holiday Special, Joe.
You just get dead by the end of it. Like you just you're sitting there staring. You're not necessarily processing it. You kind of understand, but your mind is kind of protecting you. It's like pushing it in the front and it's not letting it sink in what's going on.
It's just not good. Han Solo kills does the only death in any Star Wars costume special. We get our mandatory scream.
The Wilhelm scream.
The Wilhelm scream. And an Imperial officer appears on the view screen, and Sorn goes. He's deserted and ransacked the place, and somehow the Imperial officer buys this. Yeah. But unfortunately, the fun is not over yet.
Let's see. Was this when Hogan's Hero was popular? Because they very much act like Nazis from Hogan's Heroes.
They do. It's like they were obviously Nazis.
Okay, Hogan's Heroes was way before this. Okay,
never mind.
But they very much act like Nazis from Hogan's Heroes.
It's like they are like stereotypically not that Imperial officers in this weren't, but yeah. And it's so cue the Life
Days On.
Life Days On. Our quartet of Wookiees now reunited, recreate the opening of Bohemian Rhapsody, and walk through the mysterious Tree of Life and appear in space. Unfortunately, this does not.
And they have to put on robes, red robes, and they have to hold an orb.
An orb. They contemplate the orb.
They have to ponder it. They have to ponder the orbs a lot.
A lot of pondering. And for some reason, despite Life Day seemingly being more of a Wookiee thing, because this is the only species we actually see apart from our human characters, the rest of the cast is here. And including Princess Leia, who's now going to sing us a song.
A song based on the Star Wars theme.
Yes.
So it's another please stop. Don't. Please, no. Apparently Carrie Fisher insisted on singing for this.
I'm not surprised. I mean, it's like... it is also... Oh, God. No. No, thank you.
It's not good. Please stop. And obviously she is out of it.
Yeah, she is like... as I said, if you thought she was on something earlier, she's just like vacant 1,000 miles stare at this point. It's not.
And then we just have Wookiees walking in robes.
Yeah, and Chewbacca violently hallucinating the events of the film out for less than a year and a half. And including moments he cannot possibly have witnessed, but never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, is that it? Is there anything else I forgot?
The Wookiees get home and have their turkey bantha, whatever. And this comes to a crashing, terrifying end, and...
yeah.
Oh boy. This is the thing, like, people complain about the prequels and obviously now the sequels. And I just say to them this, at least, even in the case of Rise of Skywalker, a film that is, fan pandering to the extent that it is just, it's just painfully fan pandering, is watchable. It's bad, but it's watchable. This is
not entertainment. This is anti-entertainment.
This is the only way this is entertaining is with a group of people and a large crate of alcohol.
Yeah. This time I did imbibe. I did grabbed some Aldi's Choco Toffee red wine.
Yep.
And had a couple glasses.
Indeed. I would like to thank the good people at Jack Daniels for continuing to make their excellent product, which got me through both viewings of this, which should indicate, because I don't drink, how bad this was.
Yeah, I don't drink much either. Although I have Jack Daniel's soda, which is a good enough thing for me. And I don't often have wine. We just like tried Aldi for the sake of trying it, and it's like, oh, they have this neat looking wine, so I had it. And it's just like, look, an opportunity to use it.
Oh, good God! Well, at least it brings us in. This is just. And it's like the thing, it's this weird little time capsule. If it didn't have anything to do with Star Wars, it probably would have disappeared decades ago, when nobody would give a flying fuck about this. It is.
Yeah, this is it, and time capsule is absolutely the perfect way to put it, especially with the advertisements, because it gives you a look at what was actually happening in the 70s. Like, because everybody's like, the 70s was the greatest thing for cinema, it was the greatest thing for music, it was the greatest thing for had all of these things, and it was new. And this is what every day in the 70s was more like than, like, The Godfather was not coming out every day.
No, this is
like The Wild Geese was coming out every day in the 70s.
Yes, The Wild Geese,
starring Roger Moore.
Oh, Jesus.
Like, you would not know, nobody would know The Wild Geese exists if this wasn't attached to the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Or Tobar.
Like, even the critically, like, if you go Tobor, it's robot backwards. Tobor, if you want to sponsor us, hook us up, man.
Please, you must still exist.
Call us. You have to be still existing. Like, you have to be a $1 billion company.
Yeah.
Like, I cannot imagine somebody making a product like Tobor, not just making bank and still existing right now. Call us, sponsor us. But even like the critically acclaimed stuff, like, you're not going to believe this. The Wiz, written by the director of Batman and Robin, was critically acclaimed at the time. You can go on YouTube after watching the Star Wars Holiday Special and watch the Siskel and Ebert episode on The Wiz, and they both give glowing reviews to it, and especially to Diana Ross. And then there's a second-ish where they're like, what they expect from the Oscars, and like, they'd better not snub The Wiz. The Wiz is one of the great films of the year, and they should not pass it up.
Early Michael Jackson.
And it's just like, I've seen The Wiz. It is not great.
It's very badly shot.
It is very badly shot by a person who does not know how to do musicals, and some of the performances are just off. Mainly the main performances that got like Diana Ross does not fit here. Diana Ross does not work, but that was what was a critically acclaimed movie at the time. It was not. Godfather for sure was critically acclaimed, but that is not what was released every week.
Confirmation bias, basically, for every.
Yeah, confirmation bias.
There's a similar experience, by the way, can be captured on this side of the Atlantic by watching the episodes of Top of the Pops that you can still watch and going, what the fuck is this? Why have my ears started bleeding?
But no, Pink Floyd had an album like every month or something like that, and we had Led Zeppelin. They were doing shit, and
it's like, no,
that had to be what all music was.
Yeah, what you don't hear is like things like the Alan Parsons Project and I don't know. Whispering Traveler.
A lot of Light FM.
Yeah.
Like, loving you is easy because you're beautiful. Do 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 do.
God.
That high note that shatters everything.
Oh God.
That is what was this. That was what was mostly released in the 70s. The Captain and Tennille.
Yeah, it's just, and the thing is, like, I hesitate to say I hate this because it's difficult to hate, I'm one of these kids who grew up on Star Wars. It's part of the furniture. Nothing Disney does or nothing any company does will ever destroy, Star Wars in any meaningful way. But this is just, and it's sort of this fascinating sort of sense that George Lucas really had no idea what the fuck he was doing, half the time anyway. Like, let's have a special that focuses upon a creature that doesn't speak English and yells by making growling noises. Yeah.
And it's mostly based on like the Flash Gordon serials and stuff like that that were even more nonsensical and frankly not good if you ever watched them.
No. Stick to the 1980s film. It's good.
I don't want to be one of those people who say I don't care about the Star Wars, because I do. I just don't care about the lore. I don't care about the image. I want entertaining movies. My favorite of the original trilogy is Return of the Jedi, because it is a thoroughly entertaining movie from start to finish. I don't give a shit how many plot holes there are. I don't give a shit about how the Ewoks, we put this cute thing after Empire Strikes Back. Or it is a thoroughly entertaining at the level it was originally meant to be, as like this serial space adventure. And that is why I like Return of the Jedi the best. Like the original Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back have slow moments I have a hard time getting through. Come at me, I will fight you.
And I will always go to bat for Empire, because I'm that slightly edgy kid who goes...
And I don't have any problem with I get it. It's just like the middle part of Empire is just... It feels like it's running in circles, like trying to fill time until we get from the beginning to the end. And I always have a problem with that from a writing background.
I mean,
I will also go to bat for the mad genius of episode 3. I mean, it is
correct.
It is not I'm not going to call it a good movie. You don't have to call it a good movie, but it is an entertaining as fuck movie, which the other 2 prequel movies were not.
God,
it is mad. It goes for it, and I can't say it hits everything it wants to, but it is weird, and it is weird in an entertaining way that I like, and it is one of these Star Wars movies I will constantly watch. But
Ian McDiarmid is worth that film alone. It's just God.
I do not care about what it does to the legacy of Darth Vader. I do not care, how many plot holes this puts out, or I go for my entertainment. This is not something I go for the story and lore, or or it's part of my identity. Indiana Jones movies are part of my identity because they took the thing I liked, which was Han Solo, and they made him the main character, and they made him the center of the universe, essentially. And they did it with archaeological action adventures. And when I was growing up, I was in like the archaeological phase of like things I was into. So I had an Egyptology year. So Indiana Jones stuff was for me.
No, I would agree. I mean, and this is the thing. Like, I think we got to realize at the end of the day, for all this, and I can't use any other word but fan wank about Star Wars. This idea that Star Wars is this sort of sacrosanct, element of modern pop culture. It's a fucking sword and sorcery film in space. At the end of the day, it's co-opted bits of Kurosawa and Saturday morning serials and Eastern mysticism, and it's and people get so agitated about Star Wars, and at the end of the day, it's an entertaining series of films with some occasionally really clever concepts and occasionally some really dumb shit. I can't get they're fundamentally decently made films with possibly 1 or 2 exceptions. They're entertaining, and that's the thing. They're movies ostensibly for the innumerable comments from sort of neckbeards we're probably now going to get for this. It's entertainment for.
Although I do want to say, if you've watched. If you've listened to an hour and a half into this and you've gotten to this part,
we salute
hello,
you.
thank you for listening. Now, put your now comment your abusive shit on.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, they are films for kids. They're entertainment. They're meant to be escapist entertainment at the end of the day. And frankly, I'm tired of having to talk about, sort of constantly return to these arguments of, oh, you can't, oh, Star Wars is this or Star Wars is that, or, oh, there's far too much SJW pandering in a series where literally it starts with a girl shooting people and then basically being a fairly intelligent figure throughout, and where our heroes are literally anti-fascist, are an anti-fascist resistance. Guys.
And obviously the Empire is clearly built on fucking Nazis.
They're space Nazis. They look like they're space Nazis. It's not that difficult.
Like, how do you have time to do anything else to work and warp all of this into whatever mindset you have?
Yeah.
Because that takes a lot. A lot.
It's just like but yeah. The Star Wars Holiday Special, for all intents and purposes, is a mere footnote on George Lucas's and Star Wars' meteoric rise to power. But it's also, I feel, a reminder that, for all this genius that Star Wars was and is and will always be, it's never been this perfect thing. There's always been flaws in it. It's always been like any other piece of media, and let alone a piece of media that's been going at this point now for nearly 45 years. It's a reminder that Star Wars is only mortal.
Mm-hmm. It is not immune. It can't.
Yeah.
It is not immune to 70s variety show plague.
Yeah. But no, I cannot recommend this for human consumption.
No, it's a thing you watch to prove you can watch it.
It's
it is a just waste of time from top to bottom. And even as I've gotten further into television, like, I can see some things, like, when I originally worked on television, my first switcher was the 1977 Grass Valley switcher that activated the Death Star. So there's that connection. But other than that, I just, like, television stuff, I can see, oh, I see how they did the Diane Carroll stuff. It's a lot of, they did it in front of a green screen, and then they did different camera angles. And so they had to have a very intensive machine for the 70s. Like, that probably easily $200,000, $300,000 machine that can go from a green screen to another green screen, because even today that's a little bit difficult, but slowly fading through it, and I can see what they do. And then at the end, they do visual feedback, which is what you do in that is you use the green screen and you put the like, say you're on camera 2, you put camera 2 in the green screen, and then what that does is that will take the image and then completely warp it. And then that is what they are doing. There are people who can manipulate feedback, which I haven't been able to do, but it's just this cool effect, and that's what's happening at the end of it. So, it's an educational thing for, oh, I know how they did that in TV, and I can... Yeah. But that's all I got out of it. It is a complete waste of space and a waste of talent, and it is just that if it wasn't connected to Star Wars, this wouldn't even have an IMDb page. Like, half of the shows that they advertised on, for CBS, like, there's like this thing called Hot Towns, like, Hot Town, so it's such and such at 7 o'clock or whatever. That show essentially does not exist on the internet except in the Star Wars Holiday Special. So it would have been just like all of these things, like Lucille Ball Goes to Nashville. But because it's Star Wars, here we are.
Still talking about this nearly,
for an hour and 40 minutes.
43 years later, for some reason. It's just, like, this is...
Well, don't look at me.
Don't look at me.
I'm not the one who wanted this.
Oh, God, it was me. I feel very sorry. Oh, dear. But
The
no,
phone call is coming from inside the house.
Please stop it.
Another 70s thing people have forgotten.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you know where your children are? Does anyone know where your children are? Please hope they're not watching.
Well, the thing I was referencing was a stranger call. When a
boy.
stranger calls, which was a 70s like thriller with a babysitter and a guy chasing after or stalking her and calling her. So,
Oh boy.
which has kind of been forgotten.
Yeah. It's
So
this bizarre little time capsule of the 1970s, and what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go out and we're gonna bury it back in the garden, and probably 2 days later Disney are gonna release this on Disney Plus because existence is hell now.
yep.
So until next Christmas.
Can we be done?
Until next Christmas, because we will be back with more of these next Christmas, and Joe will be making the choices next year to avoid this.
I will be making the choices, so we will get stuff we will enjoy, but they will not get the clicks.
Yeah.
So that's the trade-off here.
Trade-off. Elmo might be back. I don't think Elmo was here this time. He might be just sort of lying in the corner, rocking backwards and forwards at this point.
He's making his Christmas murder roller coasters.
Anyway, until next Christmas, ladies and gentlemen, I've been Tom.
I've been Joe.
And may the force be with you.
Happy Life Day, everyone.
Happy Life Day.
Make sure your robe is clean and make sure your orb is pristine and shining.